I said, yep, you already know what it is. Southpaw Talk with Southpaw Slick. And today's video is going to be based on a question I got from one of my male Instagram followers. And the question was, do you think nerd slash geek culture is dying? He himself says he thinks it's dying because there's been a influx of wannabe jocks and Stacy's from back in the day that had no interest in this kind of stuff. And he says he's a 36-year-old man. So the landscape of what was cool and what was not is kind of different now. And I understand where you're coming from. Because basically you're, what, 2 years older than me? If you just turned 36, because I will be 34. So I understand where you're coming from, right? Matter of fact, I actually did a 2-part video a while back about gatekeeping in nerd geek culture. So I kind of already talked about this before, but not necessarily about nerd culture or geek culture dying. That's a really interesting one. Now, what do I think about that? Do I think it's dying? Not necessarily. And I'm going to elaborate as the video goes on. But I think it's more so changing or changed. At one point in time, especially during my youth, my adolescent years, nerd culture was looked down upon. It was weird. It was very niche. It was something that you got made fun of for. It was something that you were ostracized for. You were seen as a pariah. You were seen as some fucking weirdo, you know? That's how people perceived nerds at one point in time. Like nerds, the representation of one would be like Revenge of the Nerds or Steve Urkel or even Screech from Saved by the Bell. Those were like the stereotypical nerds, the guys that wore a short sleeve collar shirt with a tie, a whole bunch of pins in their pocket, and some broken glasses with tape, and braces and bad acne. That was like the stereotypical nerd. Not saying all of us look like that, but we definitely shared, certain qualities, me with the glasses and, the tongue thrust / lisp, there's little stuff like that, But yeah, I think nerd culture in today's age, it's more so something that is profitable. It's something that became popularized. And that's mostly because of social media. Something that has ruined a lot of stuff, like relationships. See, but I don't want to say ruined, though. I really don't want to say ruined because it is kind of cool. There's a little bit of that gatekeeper in me. I'm not going to lie. But I'm not delusional enough to not accept newcomers of all walks of life. But yeah, it's become popular. It's become mainstream, and everybody wants to be a part of it. Just like anything else that becomes popular. I said it's like the advancement with technology. It kind of, helped propel that. It's like now people that were like the computer tech geeks or whizzes from back in the day, those are like the go-to guys now, as far as doing CGI and video gaming and the social media platforms, i.e. Mark Zuckerberg. You know what I'm saying? Like Elon Musk, Jeff Bezos, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. These guys are like highly revered now. These were like the nerds of back in the day, the ones that were the quote-unquote basement dwellers, like those stereotypes, the basement dwelling, Dorito eating, Mountain Dew drinking loser, or the neck beard PC Master Race guy playing RuneScape. You know what I mean? Like that's what a nerd was. But yeah, it's not the same now. You have to think about it. The kids, especially anybody that was born in the 2000s onwards, they don't know anything about a pre-popular nerd world. I mean, if they do, is usually because of word of mouth, or it's been documented. But as far as living in a world like that, they don't know that. All they know is a world where video gaming is popular, comic books, superheroes are popular, computer technology is popular. Like I said, they don't understand the thought of somebody being made fun of for it. You know, it's like it's cool now. Everybody's into it. It has been cool for a long time. But at the same time, when I said not necessarily, nerd culture has lost its charm for the people that been around since day one. The ones that were like you and I, you know, that got made fun of. It was like a rite of passage, you know, to go through the BS, like in school and outside of it. You know, I'm saying when you got looked at weird, or you know, like why do you like that kind of stuff, or why you know so much about something that most people don't care about, you know. That's why I'm saying, like, I understand where you're coming from, but like I said, that world doesn't exist anymore. Um, but at the same time, that's when it was actually cool. It was cool when it was uncool for people like you and I. When nerd culture was niche, when it was passion over profit, that's when everything was special. You know what I mean? I said anime was special, video gaming was special, comic book, superhero culture, it was all special before everybody else joined and tried to commercialize it. You know, it's like commercializing geek culture to appeal to everyone made it less appealing to the people that been there from the get-go. You know what I mean? It's kind of like with Syndrome in The Incredibles, when he had Mr. Incredible in captivity, and he was talking about, you know, like selling his inventions to the population, you know, like, oh, if everyone can be a superhero, then no one will be. That's how I look at nerds now. It's like, since everybody is a nerd, no one really is. You know what I mean? The identity of a nerd, it has changed, because it's like everyone is a nerd now in some way, shape, or variation. You know, like at one point in time, it used to be a badge of honor to call yourself a nerd. It's like to the point I don't even like saying that, especially blurred, which I hate that damn term. I really do. I hate the term blurred because it solidifies the negative image we have for ourselves. People in the black community, like, oh, a black person can only be one certain way. We're not all monolithic. You know what I mean? There are black nerds. A nerd is a nerd, regardless, black, white, or other. But I'm getting off the topic a little bit. But yeah, it's changing. I wouldn't say it's dying, but it's changing. And I don't know if it's changing for better or worse. A lot of people would say for better, because it's like now the kids coming up in this day and age, they don't have to go through the same BS we had to go through, or that quote unquote rite of passage. Like I said, you know, like getting stuffed in a locker, or, you know, getting clowned on all day. I would say they don't have to deal with that no more. But at the same time, like I said, there's not the same kind of passion for it anymore. It's not what it used to be. I think the only subculture of geek or nerd that's still untainted, quote unquote, would be LARPing, because that's something still seen as weird, you know, cringy, you know, very, very niche. You know what I mean? I'm like, yeah, you have people that cosplay, and, you know, some people are getting into the lightsaber fight kind of thing, which is something I would kind of be interested in. No lie. No lie. But, but as far as like dressing up as some kind of like medieval Dungeons and Dragon inspired character, you know, and running around with, you know, chainmail and shields and foam swords and spears and lances, you know, it does look kind of, you know, cringy on the surface. But at the same time, I have an immense amount of respect for people involved in LARP or LARPing or live action role playing culture, because that's something they're extremely passionate about. That's something they're unapologetically into, and it hasn't been commercialized or mainstream like everything else has been. I'm saying that thing, it's still purely geek. And that's something that geek culture as a whole used to be that is no longer. You know what I mean? Like I said, so yeah, that's geek culture. It's not dying, but it's changing a little bit. It's changing, and like I said, it can be for better or for worse, depending or on your views or what group you're part of. I'm saying like people around my age and older, they might look at it in a negative light. People that are younger might look at it in a more positive light. And you have some people that don't really care either way. Um, but yeah, I said people are going to gravitate towards anything that's popular, anything that's cool for the moment. It is what it is. It is what it is. Nerd culture is not dying, it's changing. Or it has changed. That's it. It has changed. And I'm saying, I can't say changing because everything is like set in stone now. It's like, it's just cool for everybody to like video gaming and anime and superheroes and comic books and computers and all that. It's all cool now. It's all cool now. Now, some people will look at you, kind of weird, but for the most part, everybody's cool with it. And like I'm saying, like, just the term nerd itself, I think it needs to be redefined. I think it needs to be redefined, or I think we need a new term to describe people that been there from the get-go. I think we need a new term, like people that are passionate nerds and people who are nerds just because. I'm saying we need to draw the line in the sand. That's the only thing missing. That's the only thing missing. I said it's like calling yourself a bodybuilder without having muscles. You know what I mean? It doesn't make sense. That's why I'm saying we need a new term. Like, okay, nerd has been taken over. We need to find something that's the same equivalent. Or better yet, like I've been doing, I kind of just don't even associate with it. Even though it says nerd swag on my hat. But this is a long, long, long time ago. And I have nerd gaming and nerd this, nerd that, nerd immunity, which is my gamer tag on Xbox. It is what it is. Like, I've been rocking with that, But, yeah, it's just time to accept the change. That's it. That's all I can tell you. But, break's about to be over. Southpaw Slick. I'm out.